Thank you, ma'am. Uh, I'm very thankful to Shantesh ji and for inviting me for this conference. This is everyone know that this is a very important topic, as Sanjeev Sharma sir has also elaborated the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that whatever the best possible way. Uh, in one ways, whenever we say about the human rights, we conceptualize the concept. So that time, it's the Indian tradition, Vedas tradition also. It's the interrelated concept is of duties, not only rights but our duties also. So whenever in any concept, any socialism or Marxism or liberalism or globalization, whenever we talk about the concept of rights, there are always that the center is the people, human being. In Indian tradition, we have one word that Jivan. That part is Jeev and one. And here how that Professor Saxena also told that it's the right to life. That's so elaborated concept. So that is a very deep meaning of this right. And from different states, we talk about that universal rights, but the different states, the different boundaries, the different region, different caste, different aspects, the different parts of the world, that's the whole different debates. So here in this first our session, that global and Indian perspective of human rights, we have three panelists. Professor T.P. Singh sir, Rajiv Kumar Singh, he is also professor in Central University of Haryana. Professor T.P. Singh sir is in Banaras University, and Mahendra ji is in Gorakhpur University. He's also have the elaborate experience of media for last more than 15 years. So with these words, I invite Professor T.P. Singh sir for his views on this.
Delighted to be here in my alma mater, where I spent 6 years of my life. Most of the things have come up after my leaving this campus here. And this place where I'm speaking, this used to be when I used to walk from library to my provincial hostel, Brahmaputra hostel here. So very vivid memories are there. And probably those 6 years are the best period of my life here. Though at that time we were without job, the only source of our survival was the JRF and SRF fellowship, but that was more than sufficient. So firstly, I would like to thank Shantesh, Professor Shantesh Kumar Singh, for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. The first time when he asked that will you be able to come here, it was because of the attraction of the Jawaharlal Nehru University, my alma mater. I immediately said yes. Probably it would have been an invitation from some other university at this point of time in the March month, when I'm also holding a small administrative responsibility in my own university. I should have said yes. So thank you, Shantesh. Thank you for inviting me. And then I got the opportunity here to meet many people to whom I have spoken on phone, met virtually, but not in person here because of Corona and other things here. Ravi Chandran Shukla in person met first time. Even Madam also the chair. We spoke on phone, but in person meeting first time. Even your morning guest of honorary speaker, I also met him in person first time. So thank you, Shantesh, for facilitating all these things. Thank you so much. Many students are here whom I have taught. Now they have been transformed into the professors. Sasikant Pandey is there. Abhay, I did not teach him directly, but since he is friend of Sasikant, so I can treat him as student also. So many students are here. Some of my students, Rajiv is also my student. So he is my co-panelist. So even at the advanced stage, we have this advantage of calling everyone as a student here. So most of my teachers are either very old or probably they are no longer in this world. So it's really, I'm very happy to be here. This is the first time I'm not finding myself in my comfort zone here, because the topic is such that I can't treat it as a topic of international relation. That is my I'm a student of international relation. Usually I'm asked to speak on the topics of geopolitics. So that is our comfort zone here. But this is also of IR. This is also of Indian government and politics. When Nekhaji was speaking, so I was just thinking that speak in terms of constitution, etc. So the topic is very challenging here. And then both the perspectives are there, Indian perspective as well as global perspective. Initially, I had decided that I will start from Indian perspective because after listening Sanjeev Sharma, I thought better not to speak on Indian perspective because he has covered everything else. So then for my own convenience, I will start from global perspective and then move on to Indian perspective because that is the expectation. And the one family, one world, and one future, and probably the navigating the concept of human rights in global politics. Probably this is the exact topic here. Firstly, the rights we have been talking about the rights are many years, but the human rights concept is very new, as we all know. The human rights concept, first time it was in the international discourse with the adoption of Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948. Before that, we are talking about the rights, Magna Carta, this Bill of Rights, and then this French Revolution, the French Declaration. So there have been many things, but the concept of human rights, the universal concept of human rights, was conceptualized, articulated, and adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in 1948. Probably the date was 10th December, and since then we are observing 10th December as a Human Rights Day. So we all are familiar with three generations of human rights. First generation, civil and political rights, that has been adopted in our constitution, the fundamental rights. The second generation of rights, the socio-economic rights that were championed by the Soviet Union and the socialist countries. That has been adopted in our constitution, the directive principles of the state policy. And now we are talking about the third generations of human rights, and that is, so the first generation and second generation both were the rights of the individual. But the third generation of the rights are not confined to individual, it is for the groups. So now we have self-determination right, that is not individual right, it is right of a community. We have right to clean environment, and etc. Many things there. And they say indigenous people's rights, because that is also a great issue discussed a lot right now in Indian politics, and Rekhaji must be knowing about this. The Forest Right Act, it has come recently, 2006 probably it has come. And even the PESA also came later on, not with 93 Panchayat Raj Act, 98 I think Panchayat Extension Services in tribal areas came. Anyway, so now we are talking about the third generations of human rights. So here the third generation belongs to the community, it is never claimed as an individual. And the thing is that this when we talk about the human rights here, so human rights, as far as Western perspective is concerned here, it is always in binary here. It is always in verses here. And many Western political thinkers have written the books like Man versus State, etc. So the human being, the man has been claiming the right against the state. So when we talk about the human rights, so human rights is usually claimed against the states here. And the states are supposed to protect these rights. Then again, there are two debates within the human rights here. Whether the human rights are natural rights or the positive rights given by the states here. So there are many, the contextualist thinker and many others who say that these are the natural rights and human beings are born with these rights. And it is the duty of the state to provide protection to these rights. And if any state fail to provide protection to these natural rights, the individual, the citizens, the people have the right to resistance against the state, the right to revolt, etc. Even Hobbes, who has been supportive of this state, even Hobbes also says that if a state fails to provide life, liberty, and property of the people, in that case, and they have the right to revolt against their own government there. Anyway, so there is a one school of thought, the contextualists mainly, there are many others also, who say that the men are born with these natural rights. So the state has to only recognize it and implement it. But there are other groups of thinkers who subscribe to the positive view of the rights, and they say no, it is a contradiction in terms to say that right can exist without the state. So they say the state recognizes the rights, because they say the rights are not rights, they are simply claims. But when these claims are recognized by the state, and then some law has been passed about that, and some mechanism has been made for its enforcement, etc., only then it's become the right. So these who subscribe to the legalist view that it is the law which creates the right, it is the law which confers the right, it is the state which confers the right. So now the question arises that the state is the creator of the right, if state is the enforcer of right, so you can't have the right against the state. Because after all, you depend upon the state for its protection itself. So now when this human rights thing, because human rights usually claims against the state. So now the thing is, when Max Weber has said that the state has a legitimate monopoly over the use of force. So state legitimately can use force, so there is no question of right. Because the states exercising its sovereign rights in the name of national security, etc. Because for every state, its survival is the must. Because if a state will not survive, so the other things will come later. So for the survival of the state, the sustenance of the state, that is the prime concern. So they are not bothered about the rights and etc. They are mere concerned with the security. And with this, then another debate comes whether the security comes first or the human rights comes first. So there are many people who subscribe to this view, no, human rights comes first. So in Indian context, the PUCL, PUDR, many human rights organizations, they say that rights comes first, and it is the duty of the state to protect these rights. And but there are many others, and we are a student of geopolitics, where we teach that the state comes first, the state sovereignty, state survival is the prime concern. So security is the prime concern. So for security, even if rights comes into its way of security, so even a state can ignore these rights, and the state has to ensure its survival at any cost. So this is another debate. So now, okay, national security comes first, and even if national security is endangered, if national security is threatened, so there is no possibility that rights can be enforced, because rights can be enjoyed, rights can be enforced when law and order is there, security is there. When security is not there, how law and order can be enforced? We are familiar with certain areas of the country because of ethnic violence, because of the left-wing insurgency, etc. There are certain areas where the law and order is very weak. And there, the people living in those areas, what kind of right they enjoy? Because these ethnic insurgents, these left-wing insurgents, they conduct the kangaroo court, and in the kangaroo court they pass the judgment, and immediately the punishment is carried out. So even in those areas where this national security is questioned, where law and order is conspicuous by its absence, so there is no possibility that citizens of those areas can enjoy any kind of rights. So this debate is a perennial debate, and it has been conducted in the national contest, and it has been conducted in the international contest also. At the international level, we are familiar with that humanitarian intervention. So now this humanitarian intervention, it is a concept of international relations, where it said that if any ruler is violating the human rights of the people, it is the duty, responsibility of the international community to intervene there and protect the life, liberty, property of the citizens over there. So now humanitarian intervention concept has come. And now United Nations has come with another mechanism to enforce the compliance of the human rights, that is the responsibility to protect, R2P. Here some of Indians were also involved. The committee was constituted by Kofi Annan, who was the Secretary General. So now responsibility to protect the concept has come here. So now, if any ruler, government of any country has violated the human rights of its own citizen, then it is the duty of the United Nations, It is the duty of the international community to intervene there in the name of responsibility to protect R2P and enforce the compliance of the human rights, etc. There is another mechanism has also come that is also related to the human rights, that is the International Criminal Court. So now International Criminal Court has been established. More than 100 countries have ratified the conventions for International Criminal Court. And in this International Criminal Court, because so far under the ICJ, International Criminal International Court of Justice, the head of the state, head of the government, they are exempted. So any ruler, government, acting on behalf of the state and the government, they are exempted from any of their act. So in the name of working for the state, working for the government, all the people involved with the state, they have been claiming the immunity. So all those people who are involved in the violation of the human rights, they enjoyed the immunity. So to deal with this problem, now this International Criminal Court has been created. And now this International Criminal Court has the jurisdiction over the head of the state and the head of the government and all the people involved in the police forces, security forces, etc. It's true that all the important countries, leading countries of the world have not signed this International Criminal Court Conventions, ICC. Probably India has also not signed it till this day. America has also not signed it, many, but more than 100 out of 193, more than 100 have signed this ICC. And some cases have also been filed. The first case was probably Slobodan Milosevic of Serbia, because we all know this how Slobodan Milosevic was practicing the ethnic cleaning, genocide, serious violation of the human rights, etc. So also for Slobodan Milosevic, this International Criminal Court started proceeding against him. But before the decision can be announced, Slobodan Milosevic died in the jail. So the first person who has been held guilty by this court is the Charles Taylor of Liberia. Charles Taylor of Liberia, we know the kind of human rights abuse he indulged over there. He was controlling the diamond business in Liberia, and he has also gifted a diamond to Naomi Campbell, who is one of the leading model of United States of America. And then the Western media has given it the blood diamond. It has named because it was given by the Charles Taylor. So he is the first person who has been convicted, and many cases are going on. So even at the global level, efforts are on through a responsibility to protect, through International Criminal Court, through principles of the humanitarian intervention to enforce the human rights at the global. Coming to the our own country, we all are familiar that the Human Rights Commission has been established. We have PIL has come in the context of the human rights here, because probably it was Bhagalpur blinding case, where probably it was, I don't know this history of this thing here. Rekha ji will tell you about that. But even in the emergence of the public interest litigation, and then formation of the National Human Rights Commission, and even Supreme Court, our own judiciary, has been in the forefront in declaring many laws as unconstitutional. We know the case of Tada, we know the case of Kota, and there have been many preventive detention cases here. So all these decisions the Supreme Court took in the name of protecting the human rights of the people. So these are the debates we are all familiar with. Now moving to the final part of our presentation, this is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So our philosophy is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, and Professor Sharma has beautifully explained how this Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is guiding our concept of the human rights. So if you compare the Eastern and Western, the Indian and Western here, so the Western concept of the human rights, it's very narrow. Narrow in this sense that Western concept of human rights talks about only human being and state. As far as Indian perspective of human rights is concerned, we are not concerned only with the rights of the human being, we are concerned with the rights of everyone. animate and including inanimate. I don't think that river and mountains can be called inanimate, because there's a growth in mountains also. There's a flow in the river also. Anyway, so in our culture we have been talking about the rights of everyone. We are not confined to the rights of man only. So the basic characteristic of the Western philosophy of human rights is anthropocentric. We go beyond this anthropocentrism, and we are talking about the rights of every creature, everything on this planet. So in that way, our is very broad definitions of rights. Ours is inclusive, everything is included. It is not exclusive like the Western concept. Where the Western concept is exclusive, they are concerned only with the human being and nothing else. Then further, this Western concept of rights is always in binary terms, as I said, the man, state, etc. Here in our system, because our philosophy is integrated philosophy, it is Ekatma Darshan. In integrated philosophy, the individual, society, universe, almighty, that I will say in the words of Deen Dayal, thus Vyasti, Samasti, Srishti, and Parmeshti. So that is the individual, society, universe, almighty. All are integrated to one. So our philosophy has never been in the binary terms. It has always been integrated. And this integration is starting from the individual till the God, in between society and the universe. So that has been our philosophy. We have never discussed this rights in either or. Now coming again to the right. The right word has never been used in our ancient literature. In our ancient knowledge system, the right word is not there. Like dharma, we have the concept of adhikar. As dharma is not religion, in the same way adhikar is not the right. So the closest word to right in our literature, ancient literature, is the adhikar. And adhikar is much, much broader than the narrow concept of the Western concept of the rights. Now, there is another debate related to this, being a